When I heard it, I'm just looking. It was unbelievable, but I was there, and I know for a fact none of that happened. How they just explained it, but my truth will get out here, and I hope everybody understand. That's really it. I can't even say too much right now, because it's just gonna feel like I'm going against them, they going against me. We just going back and forth, but the truth is gonna come out.
About that deadly shooting in the South Loop back in September, a young mother got killed.
Yeah. Quadeja Holly Johnson is accused of shooting Romika Blackman. Johnson says it was self-defense.
Well, after new charges were filed last week, Johnson was back in court today. Tia Ewing's got more on what happened.
I'm just tired of the lies and everything of what they said I did. I know for a fact it wasn't true. I didn't headlock it. Those are the words Carlos Smith spoke in court this week. Not, I didn't headlock her. It. He referred to Rameka Meeks Blackman, the mother of his child. The woman multiple witnesses say he restrained while his girlfriend shot her in the face in front of a school full of children as it. While Carlos stood outside that Chicago courthouse proclaiming his innocence, denying he ever put Rameka in a chokehold, denying he beat her with a car door, claiming he was just trying to defuse the situation. Quadaja Holly Johnson sat inside that same courthouse facing not one but 6 charges for Rameka's murder. 6 charges, not because there were 6 victims, but because Illinois law allows prosecutors to charge the same killing 6 different ways, 6 different legal theories, to make sure justice is served. And the judge denied her bond. Again, Holly Johnson is staying right where she is, behind bars in Cook County Jail. No house arrest, no ankle monitor, no going home to await trial. But here's what has everyone talking. Carlos Smith, the man witnesses say had Rameka in a headlock, the man prosecutors allege fist-bumped Holly right after the shooting, the man who violated a protective order just by being there that morning, walked out of that courthouse a free man. No charges, no handcuffs, no consequences. At least, not yet. Because legal experts are saying what prosecutors won't say out loud. Under Illinois' accountability doctrine, Carlos Smith is next. And when those charges come, there is no parole in Illinois. None. Illinois abolished parole in 1978. If you're convicted here, you serve every single day of your sentence. 100%. No early release, no good behavior cuts, no second chances. Every single day.
We are learning new and deeply disturbing details about a deadly shooting that turned an ordinary morning into a moment of irreversible tragedy. The kind that doesn't just shake a neighborhood but leaves a permanent mark on everyone who hears about it. Because this wasn't a late-night incident in a dark alley. This wasn't something hidden from the world. This happened in broad daylight, in front of witnesses, in front of children, at a place that is supposed to represent safety, structure, and routine. A school. A young mother woke up that morning with purpose, like she had done so many times before, not knowing that within the next hour her life would be taken in a way so violent and public that it would spark outrage, confusion, and a search for accountability that is still unfolding. Her name was Romeka Meeks Blackman, and she was 31 years old, a nursing student, a woman described by those who knew her as loving, driven, and deeply devoted to her child. She wasn't just living day to day. She was building something, working toward a future, trying to create stability and opportunity not just for herself but for her son. That morning began like any other. There was no warning sign, no clear signal that anything was about to go wrong. She prepared for the day, got her child ready, and before leaving she did something small but powerful, something that now carries a weight no one could have imagined at the time. She wrote her son a note. Not a long one, not anything dramatic, just a simple message filled with encouragement, love, and pride. She told him it was a fresh start to the day, told him to be himself, told him he was the coolest, smartest, funniest kid she knew, told him she loved him and that she was proud of him. She signed it "Love, Mommy" and placed it in his lunchbox. That note would become the last thing she ever gave him. She drove him to school just like countless parents do every single day, pulled up, made sure he had everything he needed, and then she kissed him goodbye. It was routine, it was normal, it was safe. Or at least it should have been. Within minutes, everything changed. What happened next is the part that continues to haunt people, because it unfolded so quickly and yet with details that feel impossible to ignore. As Romka was leaving the school area after dropping off her son, she encountered two people. One of them someone she knew very well, the father of her child, Carlos Smith, and the other, a woman she had never met face to face before, but who was deeply connected to her life in a complicated and dangerous way, Quadacia Holy Johnson. Two women connected by the same man. Two lives intersecting at the worst possible moment. According to prosecutors and multiple eyewitnesses, what started as a verbal confrontation escalated into something physical, something intense, something that quickly spiraled out of control. Witnesses describe seeing Carlos Smith physically engage with Romka, not in a passive or defensive way, but in a manner that suggests control, restraint, force. Some say he held her in a headlock, others describe it as a chokehold, but the consistent detail across accounts is that she was being restrained, unable to freely move or escape the situation. And while that was happening, while Romka was being held in place, unable to defend herself or create distance, Quadacia Holy Johnson moved away from the immediate confrontation and went back to her vehicle. That moment matters, because it introduces time. Time to think. Time to choose. Time to stop. But instead of walking away, instead of de-escalating, instead of calling for help, prosecutors say she retrieved a firearm, returned to the scene, and then made a decision that would define everything that followed. She fired. Not once. Multiple times. At point-blank range. Into the face of an unarmed woman. In front of witnesses. In front of a school. In front of people who were just trying to go about their morning. That is the moment everything became irreversible. Romka collapsed, critically wounded as chaos erupted around her. People screamed, some ran, others froze, trying to process what they had just seen. Emergency services were called and she was rushed to the hospital, but the injuries were too severe. She was pronounced dead shortly after. And just like that, a life was gone. A mother was gone. A future was gone. A child was left without his mom. As investigators began piecing together what happened, what they found only deepened the complexity of the case and intensified the public reaction. Because this wasn't just about a shooting. It was about relationships, history, and actions that may have led directly to that final moment. At the center of it all was Carlos Smith, a man whose role in the incident has become one of the most controversial and debated aspects of the entire case. According to multiple eyewitnesses, his involvement went far beyond simply being present. People described seeing him physically restrain Romka, holding her in a way that prevented her from escaping, controlling her movements while the situation escalated. Some witnesses claimed he used a car door as a way to trap or strike her, adding another layer to the physical confrontation that was unfolding. And then there is the detail that has sparked outrage, disbelief, and endless discussion. Prosecutors allege that after the shooting, after Romka had been shot multiple times and was lying on the ground, Carlos Smith fist-bumped Quadacia Holy Johnson. A fist bump. In that moment. If true, it paints a picture not of panic or regret, but of something far more disturbing, something that suggests awareness, alignment, even celebration. But Carlos tells a completely different story. He denies everything. He says he did not restrain her, did not put her in a headlock, did not strike her, did not participate in any way that would contribute to her death. He claims he was trying to defuse the situation, trying to calm things down, trying to prevent escalation. He says he is tired of the lies, tired of being portrayed as something he is not, tired of what he believes is a false narrative being built around him. And that is where the conflict lies. Because on one side, you have multiple eyewitnesses who do not know each other, people who were simply there, going about their day, all describing similar actions. On the other side, you have a man standing firm in his denial, rejecting those accounts entirely and insisting that his role has been misunderstood or misrepresented. This creates a tension that sits at the core of the case. Who is telling the truth? And more importantly, what can be proven in court? Meanwhile, Quadacia Holy Johnson, the woman accused of pulling the trigger, has taken a clear legal position. She claims self-defense. She argues that she feared for her life and the life of her child, that the situation was threatening enough to justify the use of deadly force. But prosecutors are pushing back hard against that claim. They argue that the act of leaving the immediate confrontation, going to retrieve a firearm, and then returning to shoot an unarmed person undermines the idea of immediate self-defense. They point to witness accounts, physical evidence, and the sequence of events to build a case that this was not a spontaneous act driven by fear, but a deliberate choice. And the court appears to be taking that argument seriously. She has been charged with 6 counts related to the murder. 6. Not because there were multiple victims, but because the law allows prosecutors to charge a single act in multiple ways, creating different legal pathways to secure a conviction. It is a strategic move, designed to ensure that if one theory does not hold, another might. Her bond has been denied. More than once. She remains in custody, awaiting trial, facing the possibility of spending the rest of her life behind bars if convicted. But while she sits in jail, the question that continues to echo is this: why is Carlos Smith still free? The answer to that question is not simple, and it lies in the complexity of the law, particularly something known as the accountability doctrine. Under this legal principle, a person can be held responsible for a crime even if they did not directly commit the act, as long as they aided, assisted, or facilitated it in some meaningful way. At first glance, that might seem straightforward. If someone helps, they can be charged. But in practice, it is far more complicated. Because prosecutors must prove intent. They must show that the person not only participated in some way, but that they knew or should have known that their actions would contribute to a crime of that nature, in this case, a deadly shooting. And proving what someone knew or intended in a moment like that is incredibly difficult. It requires evidence. Text messages, prior threats, behavior patterns, witness testimony, anything that can establish a mental state. And that is likely why, at least for now, Carlos Smith has not been charged. It does not necessarily mean he will not be. In fact, many legal experts believe it is only a matter of time. Because cases like this are built carefully, piece by piece, and prosecutors often move slowly when the stakes are this high. Once charges are filed, they must be prepared to prove them beyond a reasonable doubt. There are no second chances. If they charge too early and fail, the opportunity is gone. So they wait. They build. They strengthen their case. And in the meantime, the public watches, questions, and reacts. Because from the outside, it feels incomplete. One person in jail. Another walking free. Both present at the same moment. Both deeply connected to what happened. And yet only one facing charges. That imbalance fuels speculation, frustration, and debate. Some believe Carlos will eventually be charged under accountability. Others think there may be cooperation happening behind the scenes. And some believe the evidence may not be strong enough to meet the legal threshold required. But regardless of what happens next, one thing is certain. The consequences, if convictions are secured, will be severe. Because in Illinois, there is no parole. If someone is sentenced to decades in prison, they serve every single day of that sentence. No early release. No shortcuts. No second chances. It is a system designed to ensure that punishment is fully carried out. And that reality raises the stakes even higher for everyone involved. While legal strategies unfold, arguments are made, and timelines stretch forward, there is a reality that does not change, a truth that sits at the center of all of this and cannot be undone, and that is the loss of Romka Meeks Blackman. She is gone. No court decision will bring her back. No verdict will restore what was taken. And the impact of that loss is felt most deeply by the people who loved her, especially her son, who is now growing up without his mother, trying to understand something that no child should ever have to process. He still asks about her, still wonders, still carries questions that don't have easy answers. And that is where the emotional weight of this case truly lives. Not in the courtroom, not in legal arguments, but in the quiet moments, in the absence, in the reality of a life that should still be here. The community has not forgotten. Vigils have been held. People have gathered, shared memories, expressed grief, demanded accountability. Her name continues to be spoken. Her story continues to be told. Because cases like this do not just fade away. They stay. They linger. They demand attention. And they force difficult conversations about relationships, conflict, escalation, and the consequences of decisions made in moments of anger or fear. A school drop-off turned into a crime scene. A note turned into a final message. A morning turned into a lifetime of loss. And now the world is watching, waiting for answers, for accountability, for justice. So the question remains, and it is one that continues to echo louder with each new development. What really happened in those moments? Who is responsible? And when all of this reaches its conclusion in a courtroom, what will the truth look like when it is finally laid out in full? If you followed this story all the way through, make sure you stay locked in, because this case is far from over and every update matters. Hit the like button so more people see this story. Drop your thoughts in the comments because your voice matters in conversations like this. And if you want real, detailed breakdowns without the noise, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because when the next court date comes, when new evidence is revealed, when decisions are made, you'll want to be here to see exactly how it unfolds. Because this isn't just another case. This is a story about a life lost, a system in motion, and a truth that is still being uncovered. And it's not over yet.